BookTube! This is going to be my first wrap-ups video, and as usual, I don't really know what I'm doing. So without any further ado, let me show you what I read in March. So the first book that I read in March, which I actually cheekily started I think right at the end of February, was The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So if you haven't seen it already, I do have a full reading vlog, including a little clip of me getting this book signed and dedicated, and that vlog is already up on my channel. I think it's up this side, isn't it? So if you want to hear more about this book from me, then you can always go and watch that video. But overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the language and the way that this book was written and crafted was really refreshing. I really loved the sort of picking of different myths from around the world, amalgamating them into one beautiful fantasy mythology. It's just, I know this is a standalone, but I would really love to see other work set in this world. This was my favourite book so far of the year, until I read my second book, which was The Binding by Bridget Collins. So I think I gave this a 4 and a quarter, 4.25 or something stars. It's not quite a 5-star read from me, but it is a slightly higher 4-star read than Priory. I was also lucky enough to go and see Bridget Collins do an author talk as well at the start of, I think that was in February as well. So you know, I got to meet the two lovely authors whose books are my current top 2 books of the year, which is pretty good so far. Again, like with Priory, I also have a full reading vlog with a few more of my thoughts about this book, and I think, is it this corner? I'm pretty sure it's this corner. So you can go and watch that again if you want a bit more of an in-depth review, a bit more of a chat about this book. But seriously, if you haven't read this yet, I would just highly recommend it. It was just a really good read. It's so short as well. You can just fly through this in maybe a day. It's such a good book. Please read it. The third book that I read this month was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I read this as part of my very first 24-hour readathon, and it was a strictly Grisha themed, Leigh Bardugo themed 24-hour readathon, and again, if you would like to go and watch that. It's also that, I swear this video isn't just to promote other videos, but you know, I guess every book I read this month also features in another video. So yes, I finally read my first Leigh Bardugo novel, and to be honest, this one was kind of mediocre. I think I give it a 2 stars overall. I don't know. I think this is definitely a product of its time. It's very cliche. But yeah, this one was just, it felt like so much setup. It felt like it knew that it was going to be part of a series of books, and so it didn't really have a cohesive beginning, middle and end. It was just, a lot of it was just filler, a lot of it was just really boring filler about setting up stuff for the next books, and I just felt like this book had really little in the way of payoff, and the characters were just kind of bland. It's just, I don't want to tear down this book. It wasn't a bad book. I'm sure a lot of people could really enjoy this book, and it wasn't, I didn't dislike reading it. I knew everything that was going to happen because it was really cliche and nothing was groundbreaking or surprising. I will say though, the world in this book is basically what saved this series for me. The world building and the Russian aspects, and the fact that there is technology. It's not just a bland, basic, you know, cookie cutter, cut and paste, vaguely European medieval setting. It's actually fairly original, so that kind of salvaged this novel from me. It could have been lower than a 2 stars, but all 2 of those stars are for the world building. Maybe 1 star for the world building and 1 star for the amazing map. No surprises then. The fourth book that I read was Siege and Storm, also by Leigh Bardugo. This book I rated a little bit higher than Shadow and Bone, maybe 2.75, I'm not sure, but definitely better than the first one. And I read all 3 of these books in a very short space of time, so I can't really remember what happens, where the books separate, but I know that I enjoyed this one a lot more, and I don't really think I need to say very much about this series because I feel like everyone's read it at this point. But I was pretty much just reading these so that I could get you know, the foundation work before I went into reading Six of Crows. So now you know why I read these. And yeah, no guesses needed for the last book that I read this month, which was of course Ruin and Rising, also once again by Leigh Bardugo. As I said, these books definitely did get better, so this one I gave a 3 stars. I actually, during my readathon, made some predictions about the plot of this book and what I thought the big twist would be. Basically I got it spot on, and I just happened to guess like the big plot twist, the big reveal. I suppose maybe if you couldn't see it coming, you might enjoy this book a bit more. I think it just goes to show like how cliche and how predictable these books are, even when they're trying to like pull a twist in the third book. But yeah, I gave this a 3 stars overall. I thought it was the best of the 3, and I did kind of want a slightly more satisfying ending. I thought the ending was a little bit lackluster. So yeah, I wasn't too thrilled with this series overall. I think I'd give the series, the whole series, maybe like 2.5 stars if they were like all one book as a whole. I feel like maybe if Leigh Bardugo rewrote these today, they would probably be a lot more interesting and a lot more original, but as it were, they're just kind of your real basic fantasy novels that just happen to be set in a slightly more interesting world than usual. Which sounds really harsh, but I'm about to read Six of Crows, so I'm sure my opinion of Leigh Bardugo's work is going to change dramatically over the next few days. So they were all the books that I read in March of 2019. I know that 5 books isn't like a huge amount. I think it's just over like 2 and a bit thousand pages, which isn't a huge amount, but like this is also not a small amount either. So I'm pretty pleased with what I managed to read this month. So that's about it for this wrap up. Thank you for watching my video if you made it this far. If not, I am once again just talking to myself, which doesn't really make much of a change. Hopefully there should be some other videos popping up about the page, so maybe consider subscribing and watching like something else that's here. That would be great. And I haven't really decided what I do to outro my videos yet, so I guess peace out BookTube, and hopefully I can read this much next month. Bye!